Evening, ladies and gentlemen, 6 p.m., Tuesday, August 8th, Town Board meeting called to order. I remind you, if you do have a cell phone, we request that you turn it on mute or ignore, with the exception of the safety personnel. First item on their agenda is going to be the Pledge of Allegiance. If you care to join me, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 2, approve the agenda for the meeting. Any changes? Hearing none. Item 3, minutes from June 11th Town Board meeting. July 11th, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion Patty, second Kathy. Any discussion on them? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion carried. Public comment period. People wishing to address the board limited to 2 minutes each. Public comment period will not extend any longer than 30 minutes. Anybody wishing to speak to the board on any items this evening? Go ahead, sir. Back.
Yeah, hi. I'm Scott Bumgar, and I live on 45th over here. I am here to advocate for my neighbors on 45th Street, and it's about a street light on that end of the street. It dead ends there before it turns right and goes onto a dirt road. My wife Sarah and I have witnessed the night an accident occurred on that end of the road, and there was a fatality. And that was back in 2000, let me think, 2002, 2003, or maybe 2004, I can't recall. But in my opinion, I'm advocating for a safety issue. And there's also more younger people moving onto our street. And with the current busing situation out here where kids get picked up and dropped off at intersections and things, I find that another concern. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? Go ahead, ma'am, in the back first.
My name is Leslie Bennett. I live on that street at the end, on the corner of 45th and Daly. And I would absolutely agree with the gentleman here that it's very, very dark at the end of that road. My kids are now, one just graduated and one is going to be a junior. And starting in 6th grade, they had to take flashlights to walk to the bus stop. Otherwise, we would take them because they needed to walk a quarter mile down the dark street to Wood Avenue to the nearest street light to get on the bus. And we do have younger children who have just moved in next door to us who will probably encounter that same issue. And I just don't feel that kids should have to carry a flashlight to go to the bus. It's extremely unsafe.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir. You're next.
I got denied my liquor license over at Bud's, and
Sure.
I just wanted to appeal it because, I have drug charges in the last 5 years, but I've been clean for a year and a half. I've been going to counseling. I completed intensive outpatient group, and I've just been making the right steps, trying to straighten out my life, and I'm taking care of my elderly grandmother, and I'm
Okay,
just.
we'll be hearing your appeal at item number 6 on our agenda this evening.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak?
I do. Gun range. This has been dragging on. I think this is the 4th meeting I've been to. I've talked to your, I don't know if it's your receptionist, secretary. She's told me she'd call, let me know about the meeting. Never heard from her stopping here. She instructed me that you were going to put it on a meeting.
Yes, it's going to be scheduled on a legislative meeting when we have enough agenda items.
That's good for me. The next one? When the next one comes up?
So next legislative meeting.
Okay.
That's different than the board meeting,
Right.
monthly one.
Yeah, I get the emails on the notifications.
Anybody else wishing to speak to the board this evening? Hearing no other requests, we'll move on to next item will be the monthly reports. First, Fire Chief Don Bone.
Good evening, board, town residents.
Last month, we have had 26 calls for service, 20 EMS calls, one carbon monoxide call, which turned out to be a faulty detector again. This isn't our normal time of year for carbon monoxide detectors to be going off, but they still do. Just remind you that, that detector, the life expectancy of a CO detector is roughly 7 to 8 years. So if yours are getting older than that, that's more than likely the little series of beeps you'll be hearing from it reminding you to go buy a new one. So we did have 2 motor vehicle accidents in the town. And then we had actually 3 mutual aid calls, one for a structure fire in Nakusa's area of Saratoga, one to Mariani's Packaging Sunday evening in the city of Wisconsin Rapids. We assisted Rapids Fire on that. And we assisted with a structure fire up in Rudolph at a tavern. I say that was on Friday? Last Friday. So we've been out and about. Luckily nothing in our area has been on fire, but that's a good thing. Like you say, mutual aid is the wave of the future in fire departments. Typically, almost any structure fire is going to have 4 to 5 or 6 fire departments paged out on a major structure fire. So that's kind of the wave of how things are going in the fire industry. We're still currently are staffed with 43 members. We're always looking for people that are interested, especially town residents. That's probably the thing that we're lacking the least is actual town of Grand Rapids residents that are on the fire department. It's a good way to serve your community, and I guess we always say we have positions available for just about anything, even if you're not doing the actual firefighting portion of it. There's things you can do to assist and help the fire department out, and we do have details that we do. Our rescue or our training this month, like I said, our EMS people are doing their refresher training to keep their licensure up with the state. Last month we were actually at Mid-State Tech doing some rescue work off of roofs. A lot of people don't think that comes into play, but we did actually, we had a medical situation on 45th Street about a year ago. We had to take somebody off of a roof. There was a contractor that fell ill up on the roof and stuff like that. So we do get into some pretty unlikely places that we get asked to come and assist, whether it's the medical or anybody else. So we were doing some training over at the training facilities at Mid-State Tech over there. Other than that, we had our normal functions throughout the year, or our month, our training, our business meetings, and our officers meetings. We do have the parade coming up in Kellner on the 20th, starting at noon. Surprising how many people can fit into Kellner when you have a function, but it's turning out to be an annual event, and encourage people to come and participate and see what Kellner has to offer to you. Other than that, the fire department's been relatively peaceful and quiet.
Any questions of the chief? Not if you'd turn to your safety report.
Safety, we had one minor first aid injury of a police officer. I believe, not everybody that deals with our police officers are kind and gentle, so it was just a minor injury that occurred while coming into contact with a citizen. So minor, very, very minor. So other than that, things have been working good on safety.
Wonderful. Any questions? Hearing none, we
Thank you.
Police Department Chief Al Peterson.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Okay, for the month of July, the Grand Rapids Police Department handled 461 calls for service, and that compares to 455 calls for service last July, 2016. A little over 1% increase in calls, and the town board members should have the breakdown of the calls. You have them this month, right? The last month?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good, good.
I have to apologize. I was told where they were last month.
Okay.
Umwan failed to go retrieve that from my brain.
So they were there. They just
They were there.
didn't get put in. So okay. We're going through some personnel changes on the police department right now. On July 17th, the Police and Fire Commission conducted some interviews of our part-time officers. And this was because Officer Crummel, our three-quarter position, full-time officer, is resigning. Tomorrow's his last day of actual working, and he'll be resigning. He found a full-time job over with Portage County, so he's going to be working on the other side of 80th Street instead of our side. So we wish him well, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of him, even though he's over on the other side. So with him leaving, resigning, then we conducted interviews for that to fill his position, and as a result of those interviews, we'll be bringing back Officer Cody Conover. He was a part-time officer for us back, I think he started with us in 2014 and worked as a part-time officer for us for a year, and then got a full-time job down in New Glarus, and he wants to come back home. So he's bringing him back on in that three-quarter position, and we'll welcome him back. We're also added a part-time officer from last year. We were the Police and Fire Commission. We were two short. We hired one, and now we brought the second one on. That's Officer Kaylee Harless. She'll be joining our part-time ranks here. She just started training last week, so once we get her through the FTO process and up to speed, you'll be seeing her out on the streets, Grand Rapids, filling those vacant shifts. So I'd like to welcome aboard Officer Harless and welcome back Officer Cody Conover. The Grand Rapids Police Auxiliary had another busy month. They assisted the Wisconsin Rapids fireworks display on July 4th. Of course, we had the State Water Ski Show Championships hosted by the Aqua Skiers at Lake Wazeecha, July 20th through the 23rd. And then we also had a homeless point in time pit count on July 26th and 27th. And our auxiliary members assisted with those events. Once again, same as Chief Bowen brought up, we're always looking for good volunteers to join our auxiliary, and it doesn't have to be students over at Mid-State, and we prefer to have residents also from the town of Grand Rapids that can go out and support these events and help out the community when we have these events in our town. So by all means, feel free to stop down and look into becoming a Grand Rapids Police Auxiliary. Vehicles in department are doing well outside of normal maintenance. And once again, if you ever want to come in and chat, my door's always open. Please feel free to stop down and chat. Any questions?
Yeah, if I join the auxiliary, do I have to be tased first?
No, you don't. No, you don't. Or gassed or pepper
No
spray.
requirement.
No requirement for that, no.
Or again.
Yeah.
Hey. Any questions, Chief? Hearing none, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Treasurer's report. You still got any money, Amy?
Yep.
All right.
Lights are
Thank
on.
you.
Good evening. For the month of July, current month receipts were $135,130, and current month disbursements were $208,752. Cash on hand at the end of the month was $781,220, with $105,977 in checking and $373,564 in the repo account, and $315,956 in the money market.
Any questions? For those of you who wonder what a repo account is, that's basically another account that sits with a main portion of our money in it, and then when our checking account gets down to a level, it moves money into it automatically every morning. And then if we get too much money in our checking account, which is rare, it then moves it back into the savings account. So it's replaces money basically for us, so it saves us having to call the bank, say transfer some more money, et cetera, et cetera. So, thank you, you're doing a good job. Item 6 is a hearing of Justin Zemke's appeal to the town board's denial of his operator license request. And I understand you had a chance to meet with the chief.
Yeah.
You want to, did I miss one?
No, that is.
Oh, sorry.
I'm right for a change?
I'm looking at the wrong page.
All right. Okay, do you want to explain your situation, why you feel we should be reconsidering it?
Yeah, I'm on probation. I've been on for over a year now. I've been abiding by it. I've been going to counseling once a week. I was going to an intensive outpatient group for substance abuse, which I actually completed last Wednesday over at Compass Counseling. And then, I've just, at this point, I'm trying to just do things right. I'm trying to be a productive member of society and everything. I've been a year and a half clean. I'm taking care of my elderly grandmother. And I'm just trying to do things right at this point, so.
There are questions of the board members, from the board members? Or Chief, you have any update for us?
No, other than he took the initiative to come in and speak with me directly. I thought that was very nice of him, and, it shows responsibility that, it's something that he, took the initiative to do. And I have gotten phone calls previously, but this is, I think, the first time somebody's actually come in and wanted to speak with me directly, so I thought that was, very responsible of him. So, he understands the ordinance, the way it's written, and I said, but there is this appeal process for the whole town board, and I would leave it up to them, and he hasn't, I guess, I don't see any, at this point, any indication where, I guess you would say you've relapsed or whatever, everything I've seen is that, he is trying to clean his life up and go on the straight and narrow, and I think that's very honorable of him, so.
William?
Thank you.
Yes. I've had family problems in my own family and some of my siblings, so I would make a motion to grant the license application.
Okay, so a motion is second?
I'll second it. I believe in second chances.
Okay.
Thank you.
Board members, any other discussion?
Well, my only comment would have been, to my recollection, we had granted one in the past as well that we had denied. We made the motion conditional on if there was any incident that happened, that operator license would have been revoked at that time versus 1 year and not knowing. So it's
I
up to
believe that to
you.
be a standard procedure with how we do it.
So my question is if there was a parole violation, then we could rescind the
Exactly. What
Okay,
we've
we
done,
need that.
we've done probationary appeals, licenses based upon no activity of any nature that would cause it to be rejected. And if, are you considering that bill as,
Yes.
would you like to withdraw your motion? Would you like to
Clear my
withdraw?
motion.
Yeah, would you withdraw and then restate it?
I would
Thank
like
you.
to grant the license on a probationary period.
1 year?
1 year.
Okay. Okay. Dan's that second?
Yep.
Any discussion now?
I just have one more question for, you said you completed your counseling.
I completed an intensive outpatient group for substance abuse.
Okay, so do you have any ongoing counseling?
Yeah, I go to counseling once a week still
Okay.
over at Compass Counseling with Julie Sigler Edmondson.
Okay,
She's
very
my
good.
therapist, so.
Very good, thank you.
Anything else? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. I'm an aye, any opposed? All right, you have a second chance, sir.
Thank you.
Make the best of it.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, item 7 is accept Officer Robert Kremel's resignation effective April, well,
August.
I need new glasses. August 12th, 2017.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation.
Motion Kathy, second
Second by Patty.
Patty. Any discussion?
So is that, in the motion, is it including, I see he wants to retain him as part-time?
Right. It's
So-
just the resignation of full-time.
Of a full-time into a
Mhm.
part-time?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have one question. So, in Conover, in the police report, said it was, he was taking a full-time, and
He-
Crummell is
Yeah.
three-quarter time. Is that just a typo in the
No,
report?
Conover was full-time at a different department. He's coming
Okay.
back to take the three-quarter time.
Okay, I
Position.
understand.
And
Okay.
then I think there was reference to coming back to our full-time ranks, but it just means as,
Full-time, part-time.
as part of that full-time schedule, the routine
Okay.
schedule, I think is what it meant. But
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
And just for the record, I would like the clerk to read this letter so it's public record where people hear it, they'll know why he resigned.
The resignation.
Resignation.
Dear Chief Peterson, I'm writing to announce my resignation from the Grand Rapids Police Department three-quarter position effective on August 12, 2017. I request to be retained as a part-time officer with the Grand Rapids Police Department. I have enjoyed working for you and the residents of the town of Grand Rapids for the past 4.5 years. I would like to thank you for the opportunities and experiences you have given me. I wish everyone at the Grand Rapids Police Department the best. Sincerely, Robert Crummell.
Thank you.
Anything else? All in favor of accepting the resignation to a part-time position, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Approval of appointments of two fire officers that are filling a vacant lieutenant's position. Kevin Grosskite and Josh Baltus was selected by the 7-member fire department officers and standard fire department personnel. Chose those two.
I'll make a motion to approve the position of Kevin Grosskreitz and Josh Baltus as new lieutenants for the fire department.
I'll second.
Motion Dan, second Kathy. Any discussion? Go ahead, Bill.
So how does this come about? Did a Lieutenant 3 and a Lieutenant 4 retire or leave?
Yes.
And then the balance of the, or is it picked by the chief, or is the balance of the fire department? Do they choose?
Yes, I think that's what I was explaining when I was stating that. If I wasn't clear enough, I apologize. But there is a selection process of some officers of the fire department, including the chief, and 4, I believe, standard fire personnel meet, interview the candidates that wish to be acknowledged to accept the position, and then they choose their officers. No vote yet, right?
Right.
No, you did. Oh, you,
No,
motion's made.
Right.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Discuss attending Wisconsin Towns Association, October 8th and 10th. Anybody know if they're going yet? William? I will. Anybody else yet?
I may be able to go one day, but I haven't received my work schedule yet.
All right, we'll just tentatively put us down
Right.
for a couple. We'll get that worked out.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on that? No. Item 10, discuss request for street light, 45th Street. I did talk with the Water Light Commission, and basically they'll put the light on the pole in theory for free. However, they charge $11 a month fee for equipment, and then a electricity charge, which basically amounts to $15 a month is what it would be. So that is what it would cost. They also indicated to me that they also do private parties security lights. If anybody's interested in a security light for your own facilities, you can request from them, and they will give you a price for specifically for yourself if you're interested. Okay. Discussion?
So they're gonna set the pole, put the light on?
Yeah, there's a pole
there.
close to,
Oh, so they just put the light on the post?
Mhm. and it adds another $15 a month to the town's electric bill.
Mr. Chairman, I think that this item should go back to legislative for further consideration, and the reason being that our ordinance defines how and when streetlights are placed, and what we are considering here could open up additional numerous requests, and where today this request might be the light post can be set, or the light post is there, so the light could be placed for free, but tomorrow's request, the individual may have no post near them, and therefore those residents would be charged to place a post. I just think that there's more to be considered than a simple yes or no decision at this point.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to put the light in. That it's been before here twice, and it's just shifting around. The whole ordinance does need revising because it has some things in there that's not in there now, and this is a special need for this on the end of that street. I know we could have people lined up, but I don't think we're going to have it for people with special needs and the condition up on that end. I know it was stated that this was there was a death, and that did not result in a death. It resulted in a very serious injury, and I think the person is paraplegic from a result of that accident. So I would make the motion to place the light there.
I'll second it. And I agree with Bill. I think this particular request came from an individual with a disability. And if there's others that come along the line, the reason why I say, or I agree that a light should be placed there is because it's helping a person that has a disability there. And so if other individuals come along, you know, I would have to weigh, you know, the approval or disapproval of it, but I'm approving this, or I agree with this because of the disability.
I take the side to look at this, the safety, the traffic, the need, and ability to provide your own safety light. I don't know all those answers. I do know that we had a car accident there. And I do know that it's a dead end. Basically, it's goes to a half lane. It is dark. I know there's residents. But I also know we have, I can't tell you the number of residents that we have on alerts that live by themselves also in the same type of scenarios. So I'm troubled by whether it's a responsibility of government to step forward and do this, or if there is the means within the individual's power to, whatever the cost is, to put a safety light himself. I don't know that.
Mr. Chairman, well said, by the way. My head was thinking the same thoughts, or similar thoughts, but I'm trying to remove the person from the request, the individual from the request, because while we may receive a request from a disabled individual today, and if that disabled individual doesn't live there 6 months from now, do we take the light away? No. And so this isn't about defining that it's needed because of a disability. It's about safety or any other needs. And what we decide today could open up the additional requests that are going to come throughout this town. And I will not vote in favor of a light tonight without having further discussion and conversation around what impact that might have down the road, what it might mean months from now and years from now, and the costs that are going to be incurred by our town as a result.
William?
I sat in on a meeting here when a person in a wheelchair that lives off of 64th Street, I believe it is, Circle Road or in that area, in which we blacktopped that short road that goes to the water because there was a person with a wheelchair. And we sat here and we discussed it and we made a motion to go ahead and do that. This, and the fact that he can have his own security light, anybody can have their own security light. I have my own security light, but that does not shine on the road. That shines on the people that want it. It shines that way. People next door can complain, such as they complained about this light that was over here in advertising their storage area. The person over here complained because it was too bright. It was against the ordinance to blind residents in residential zone. I think this is just a stalling tactic.
I got a couple
Dan?
questions. So with the light that was blinding, what'd they do with it? Did they take it out?
Yes,
Or-
yes, the light, they had to dim it.
They had to dim it?
Yes, they
Okay.
did.
Okay. My concern is also, I have no problem with the $26 a month, but I do have an issue with what this is gonna open up as far as without that ordinance gone through, and looked at and defined much better. Again, I agree, it is probably dark there, but we could open this up to the whole town, and how do you say yes? Because he said this is a safety issue, for the people on 45th Street. How do you not say, well, it's not a safety for you on Bristol Court, or it's not a safety issue for you, and, what's gonna define that? And we don't know. So on this motion, the way it is, I will be voting no for it
Mr. Chairman?
at this time, but I'm gonna ask that we also bring it up to a legislative, and that we have a legislative sooner than later.
Kathy?
And the reason I want to bring it back to legislative is not to just negate the need for this type of a request, but to really consider what it means for future requests. It wasn't too long ago when we received one on Griffith and, can't remember the side street that came off of Griffith, and the individuals there were concerned because their intersection, which was a T intersection, was a dark intersection, and we denied that request. And I just don't think that tonight we should be having a conversation, if the individual who lived on that corner had been disabled, then were we obligated to have put that street light back up, or should we have put that back up? I just think that we really need to look more clearly at what is the purpose of the ordinance, why, where and when and why are we placing these? And once you start approving one, keep in mind there's going to be more that will be needing to be approved.
I've had several people contact me about lights, and a lot of them were subdivisions, and some of them were even in the Country Village Drive. However, those lights, those electricity is all underground, so it would require them to put a pole up. And once the $400 some for the pole was discussed and what it would be, they said, no, we don't want to do it then. So.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
Does anybody have the petition in front of them?
I do.
You do. And it states on there exactly why that petition was taken up, and it's for 41-2B. And that's exactly what it states.
Okay, so explain.
So what are you gonna do, change that portion of it, that you don't have to circulate a petition? There's other ways of getting a light without a petition.
Go ahead, Kathy.
41-2B states that the town board at its discretion, upon petition of property owners, may assume a portion of the costs, only for compelling reasons such as severe traffic or other safety hazards. The ordinance doesn't say that we should consider it because of disability or fear of the dark or anything like that. That's my point.
I would like to bring up a point. There is a lot more traffic on 45th. Every night, I have a caregiver that comes down. We never had that before. Caregiver. We have, if we look at history, we had a severe accident. When we have to have neighbors who had children, who had to use flashlights to walk down in the morning. We're gonna have other people in the same thing, in the same situation. Why is it why is there so much hesitance about doing something that is going to alleviate a possibility of a future accident? Or when we can all see that there's gonna be some danger. And
I can understand your concern.
And this idea of, well, if we do it for this person, then there's gonna be 100 other people coming. Well, you know what? I believe I'm one of the very few people who, the person who plows the road, my driveway, plows it all the way across the road into the ditch.
Sir, I would hope that you would not be doing that because that's against our ordinance to plow across the
If
road.
you would let him finish, he has more on that.
I'm more than that, because that has been passed and that is done. And have you had a lot of people come and to the board here and ask to have their driveway, have their snow cleared all the way across the board, all the way across the road?
Because you're pushing or blowing the snow across the road?
No, I haven't. I have Mr. Bone clear out my driveway, and he takes it, and it goes across the road into the ditch, and was passed by this board.
If that's the case, that's highly unusual.
Well, it
because
might be
I know-
highly unusual.
I know
when
we
it's done,
issued, I know we.
And there's not, and there's not, how do I wanna word it? You haven't had 10 or 20 or 30 more people come to this board and say, well, because Mr. O'Donnell has his done, then I want mine done.
That's
I mean, that sounds.
That part of the
that sounds
conversation,
kiddish.
I accept your comment on that, sir, but let's get back to the reason for the light is based upon safety, traffic, and what's the third one? Traffic, safety,
Well, it depends what they're saying.
Ability to provide lighting. Traffic need, ability to provide lighting.
and traffic what? So?
Safety, traffic, the need for it, and the ability to provide lighting.
There's more traffic coming off. Daly, 10 years ago, Daly, is it Daly Avenue or Daly Street, was hardly used. Now, it is, I counted one car going through there at least 4 times just this afternoon.
Wasn't me, was it?
That's
Because I'm traveling back there, looking at that from time to time. Go ahead, ma'am.
Probably me. I just want to clarify too that my kids carried a light not because they were afraid of the dark. They carried a light because we had them carry a light so they were safer when vehicles were coming down, so.
Mr. Chairman, so for clarification, the afraid of the dark comment came from last month's meeting when we were,
I just
when that was brought up.
I just wanted to
that
make
they were afraid of the
sure
dark.
that wasn't
But,
why
right,
they carried a light.
right,
I mean,
no.
that could have been part of the reason.
And my children as well could have carried a flashlight. They didn't, but they could have. They left for the school bus at 6:30 in the morning. The sun had not risen, and they have to walk a
It's just
distance to
long-
get
it's
to the
a-
bus.
It's a quarter of a mile down the road, and it's just a long way.
But my
so-
point is, I think that needs to be more consideration here than just a one-time incident. We have a lot of traffic that goes on Griffith Avenue, and we denied a streetlight request on Griffith Avenue. And so it's not just about one location or one situation. It's about the whole, the entire picture, not just your individual request.
One time,
We did have a request. I don't know how many back.
do you realize on that one-time incident that that person was left paralyzed from the waist down?
I'm not talking about your incident of
I'm
your
not
accident.
paralyzed from the waist down.
I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the accident that happened at your place. I'm talking about Griffith Avenue and the fact that this town board received a request to place a streetlight on Griffith Avenue because the neighbors felt that it was a dark intersection and they wanted it brighter. And we denied that request. You're not the first. Sadly, you probably won't be the last, but if we can take it back to legislative, maybe we can have some more clear definition of when we approve one, what's going to happen next month if the next person comes in and wants one? I have had a couple of phone calls of people who have asked me, hey, I listened to your meeting last month. So if you start approving that, I want one. And then when do we, the other thing about with the ordinance is, it defines on who pays for a pole or not a pole. In this example, there is a pole there, so there might not be a cost. In the next example, there is no pole, there might be a cost. Maybe it's not fair for the town to charge the individual over here when the individuals over here didn't get charged. There's so much more to be considered than just a simple light that might cost $300 a year. That's my point.
And I guess the last point that I'll make to it is, we don't know that there's not the ability, or there is ability, to provide it on the safety light, if that's what you want to call it, on our own. We don't know that. We've not been told that.
What I do know, the first crack of thunder or the first bolt of lightning, that light won't be working at the end of 45th. Because the minute a squirrel jumps on a transformer on that, anywhere around us, power is out.
Sir, I am at the end of the line myself also, and that happens to me more than anybody else. We've got fried squirrel every couple of months. Go ahead.
When did this came in front of you people a
Yes.
month ago, right?
Yes, it did.
And so why do we have to now, it comes in front of you again? But now we have to wait and go and take it to a special, another meeting. Why wasn't it taken to a special meeting from the last time?
Because I was tasked with finding what the cost was, if you remember.
And it took you a month.
No, it didn't take me a month, but I was told to bring it back to this meeting. So I made the communication back and forth to the Water and Light Commission, and they indicated what the cost was. And you're actually buying the light at $11 a month is what you're renting the light for. And then they're charging you the electric fee, which is another $4 a month. So they're charging you $15 a month for the light, is what?
They're charging, I just want to know why it's taken so long.
Well, government is slow, and
Give me a yes or no.
I can just tell you that government operates on a once-a-month meeting schedule. Years ago, this town met twice a month. We meet once a month now to get all our business done, and that's our schedule. We had one more.
Could there be a cost analysis in the township of lights that we can take down?
Yeah, quite frankly, I don't even actually know what our number of lights that we actually own. I really don't know that, sir.
So how many lights are really necessary?
I think a lot of them were put up on intersections that have lights for reason, because of the stop signs, and lights are put on there. Some subdivisions want them at their entrances, some subdivisions don't. They prefer to be dark, so. I guess we're, any other board members' discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the town paying the $15 a month for the light on 45th Street, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye.
Opposed.
I'm sorry, sir, it's denied at this time. Now I lost my agenda. I don't work with mine. I'll try this one. Usually got too much reading on. Stormwater drainage Edgewood Acres subdivision. First, ask Rick to give us a little update as what we found when we started to do the cleaning, and then you all know the trouble we found, and we had to borrow a new line down through there. So,
Yeah, I guess I wasn't prepared for this, but I guess you got a rotted 12-inch pipe underground that stretches a half mile. It's a spiral galvanized perforated pipe. It's basically shot.
so we did cut into the line with a boring machine and bored underneath the road. we stayed within the existing pipe. Brought it up on the other side, probably we had 150 foot of pipe, I'm gonna guess, right? 160. And then pulled that back through the hole. So instead of a 12-inch pipe now, there's a 10-inch water pipe through there in that solid case. So it goes, at this point in time, we have water flowing again. We did determine that the metal pipe continues on to Wood Avenue and to Grove Avenue, and that's the extent of the culvert type pipe that was slotted. From then on, going down the lateral to Batavia and 65th and 66th, I guess that would be, 67, where it ends, those are believed to be all a concrete sub-base of some kind. We used the power service for just one day. Basically, 3/4 of a day. They were broke down for a couple of hours. So what I would suggest that we do right now is to just get a camera system in there to scope the rest of it before we would go in with any equipment to see if we can de-root it or wherever it happens to be. I guess I'm a little more skittish of causing other sinkholes to form and having a ton more work to do right now. So if the board would have me continue on with the project, we'll see if we can get a camera in there first to look at the rest of the pipe before we begin to do any more. Bill?
So is this, this meeting here, is this the documentation of what's been done, how much we've spent? Is any of that being logged? Are we actually locating the pipe and putting it in papers? So somebody 25, 30 years from now said, I wonder what they ever did with that pipe and everything. So is this the end of it? And at the last motion that was made at a meeting, town board meeting, was for $2,500. Did we spend that $2,500?
No.
What did
We did, $2,500 was going to recover 3 days' worth of work. As I said to you earlier, they did 1 day worth of work, and then we stopped them because of the sinkhole that formed. And I'm saying you, from that actual 8-hour day of work, they were broke down for 2 hours. So we really only had 2 hours worth of work. 6 hours, excuse me, thank you. So what I'm saying is I would want to continue on the determination of that project. I have no idea yet as to what the cost of this repair was. We considered it an emergency repair, so we had Earth Incorporated come in and do the work, and they pulled the pipe, and it took us a while, a lot of work, but we did get a pipe back in the ground. It is sealed up. It is draining water, and we should be good for now, but
So
I
that's
guess
the
we still don't.
50,000? That's the 50,000 we're talking about?
I have no idea if it's 50,000, Bill, because
No, is that the
that's the
50,000
50,000 the board approved, yes. Up to 50.
And the 27 is 2,500 that we have, that's for the camera, we still have money left over, they're gonna do the camera? I just think a lot of this should be documented.
Well, don't tell me it's gonna be documented.
Yeah, it will, but I don't think probably.
Well, I think we all know where the pipe is, Bill, and we know all the concrete covers that are right there. And if you got a concrete cover, obviously you got a receiver, which 4 foot in diameter, goes down 10 foot, and gets to a 12-inch pipe that goes north, south, east, west, depending on where it's going. So we do know where they're located, and they, in some areas, are sitting on private property rather than in the town right away. We know that because of where we had to bore.
And it's all documented, I mean, now we have a map and we can look right at it. No, it's not, you should go out there and you see these things. I'm just saying, I think this is, you know, we issued a lot of money, and I think these things should be documented. I mean, he was surprised that he had to make a report, you know.
No, I just asked him to be here. I didn't tell him that I was gonna ask him to tell you the whole 9 yards, but just thought he could interject. You were there, watched them work. You saw some of the work they did.
You don't have to put that in the documentation.
I can do that if you want. Yes, ma'am.
Barb Randolph on Batavia Avenue. I just want to make sure I understand correctly. They started at the lake
Yep.
when the work began, and they went up to the south side of W
Yep.
on 64th, is that correct?
Mhm.
And is that where the pipe
Yeah,
goes down?
210 foot from the last receiver, which would be probably 40 or 50 foot from the roads where they found a blockage of some kind.
So the pipe was deteriorated, broken down there? Do we know if was that caused by the hydroblasting that they were doing, or were they just doing the camera at that point?
No, they were blasting through it. They were going, pulling roots. They were very successful coming on the other end, coming up to it, and that's when the machine stopped.
Okay,
So it hit a blockage of something.
so from that point, just west of, or just south of W there on
Mhm.
64, that's been cleared out?
Yes.
And it's been cameraed?
And we didn't put a camera down there because they didn't have the camera truck with them. That was in a different area. So the truck they had was just a tool truck with a blaster on it.
Is that planned to?
Well, that's what I wanted to bring to the board tonight, to continue on it and to do a camera look at it. Now, before we actually send a machine in there, I would rather get a view of it. Now, in order to get a good view of it, it really needs to be dry. So what we'd have to do is put some sandbags in some of the piping and get that water to drain out of it so that we get a better look at it. It's very hard to get a look at if you have flowing water that's rusty colored. If it was clear, genuine water, we could. But we'd have to do a little bit to help them, assist them, so that we could get a camera in there.
So the area north of W and 64, that's approximately where you
We
stopped
stopped.
right now, right?
Yeah, we stopped just between Lennox and W.
So you have to yet go up to Wood and then down the laterals on Wood and Batavia?
Right.
That hasn't been hydroblasted or cambered?
No, hasn't been touched.
Okay. I just
Other
wanted to-
than part of Batavia was, probably 600 foot of Batavia was done earlier this year.
I understand that.
Okay.
So part of this is to say whether or not you're going to keep going, is that?
That was why I asked to be on the agenda, so the board knew that I had intentions of going back there, using the rest of our initial $2,500 to see what we can determine the rest of the facility looks like.
Thank you.
May I ask her a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Patty.
Have you noticed any difference since the water line was connected and repaired? Have you noticed any difference with your pumping?
We were gone for about a week while this was all taking
Okay.
Lucky you.
place, but we're still pumping. But
Okay.
it's only down, we're down to maybe twice a day.
That's your
But that was true before the pipe
That
was
was
done
bef-
as
yes.
well.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask, what was it prior to that? Okay.
Mr. Lupke?
Yeah, but in the spring and in the earlier
Right.
summer, we were pumping every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a lot worse. And I'd also add that when you did to Keith's house from 64th to 65th, when you hydroblasted it earlier, it was bad from what I've heard, the amount of roots. So the same amount is probably between Keith's house and our house and down Batavia. There's no indication that it wouldn't be plugged also. And if it's plugged, it doesn't matter if the pipe collapses or not, because it ain't working.
Yeah, but the idea is then if we determine that we have a major thing, then the board needs to determine where the money is coming from, because what I'm looking at is getting a determination. I think when we first started meeting with you folks, you were asking us to just determine we got more than anything. Go ahead, Mr. Lupke.
Chairman, I would say that the water level has not changed as I'm monitoring it every day. And the flow that you say is coming out of the pipe at Lake Wazeecha has not changed. I was down there yesterday again, and I don't see the difference. It's confusing to me to see why we don't have more water flow going to the lake if that new pipe has been put in. So somewhere between W and Lake Wazeecha, we got water running in those, and I would address that to the town foreman. Any ideas, Rick, why that water flow hasn't increased if you put a pipe in, or is it still blocked up north of W?
It's at the water table at the height of the pipe. If you look at any of those cans, it's right there. I can watch it go in and out.
It
So
goes
I
in
can
and
tell
out.
you,
But
not
at
full
the
pipes
lake, there's
going
not a
in or
lot
out.
of flow down there. There's not any more than there ever was. It's not even going over the hump. I mean, it's just going over the hump and the weeds are still there. So we haven't increased it, but the water level in my basement is staying relatively 12 inches below the floor right now. And he's pumping, so there, I grant you there's some movement, but in order to get a camera through anything, you have to clean it out first. I mean, I don't know how you run a camera through the kind of roots that came out of that
Well,
300-foot section in front of my house.
If we find that, then we have to,
Then you have to
go
do
to
it.
Plan B.
Well, it would, one way or the other, have to continue to be addressed, because if we get more water, and I know that the limestone pond is receding, so, you know, the water table is going down, and I'm happy for that. But it's one of those things that they're, an act of God, we get that much rain, we need to be able to divert that. So knowing whether that pipe is clear all the way through is the critical issue here. And let's continue with that.
Shirley?
So through all this work that's been done, you're saying that you do not have any dollar amount for any of this?
Well, no, the contractor just did their work. I mean, we won't get a bill from him for weeks.
So how would the town board know whether or not to proceed to know how much this costs for just this to be done?
Well, we approved $2,500 to do the inspection. We only use one day of the 3 days. So we have 16 hours yet of work available roughly to us that we could continue on doing the inspection and or cleaning if that's what we can do. That was separate to the repair that we had to
But
do.
you have the repair in there now, so is that not included in the $2,500?
No, the repair is not.
So the repair is where you're adding on to the 50 grand that you approved to spend?
Yeah, we don't know if it's going to be 20,000, if it's 22,000 or 10,000. We don't know that yet. So we have to wait for the contractor to supply the bill.
So, Mr. Chairman, why would we not continue with the camera? If we have only one day in, and this is directed to the full board here, I guess I don't understand why we would not continue to use that camera and go north of W and find out what's going on. It just makes sense that we should do
I
what
thought
we
that was
can.
already.
I thought that was the
I thought that
intent.
was already done in intent for the
Well,
2,500.
It is my intent to do that, but we told the folks to stop that
Oh,
process right
right.
there. We said we would get back to you when we want to, if we
I
want to proceed. And that's why I took the liberty, because we had a meeting coming up, is to get it on the agenda, to
Sure.
make sure that you're all thinking that, rather than just calling an engineer and say, design a whole new system, let's put a new system in.
Okay, so you're looking for a motion to
Just to
continue
continue on the
with the
inspection.
camera inspection, not to exceed the $2,500, which
There you go.
was, okay.
Perfect.
That's my motion.
I'll second.
I think Dan first. Dan was second, excuse me. Any other discussion?
Okay, so now we're gonna do that, and if in 10 feet, we find out that it's plugged again, we get Earth Inc. to come back? It's-
No, I didn't say that.
No, I know you didn't say that, I'm asking the question. So we stopped it in so many hours, so then now what do we do? Does that $50,000 then kick in? Or do you come back and have a special meeting and say, oh, we got trouble again?
My intention, Bill, is to look at the pipe that I believe is not going to collapse, and that would be the concrete composite pipe. That is the fingers that goes off of the metal pipe that is just on 64th Street. So that section, that from where we stop the pipe going to Wood Avenue is where it is metal yet. At this point in time, I'm not wanting to touch that. I wanted to go down and look at the fingers and see what the fingers look like. If the fingers are open, we should be able to see our flow. And right now, as Rick said, the pipe is only half full. We're seeing part of the pipe, so the water table has dropped significantly already. So in relation to Keith, you wouldn't see a full flow if we're only got a half full pipe up at the top of the system already. So because of the water tables dropping, now, should it drop more? I don't know. but we need to see what's there so that we can at least make a determining whether it's something that we as lay people can do, or we need to call an engineer to do something else.
So the camera's only going on the south side of W.
No,
On the
north side of W, east of 64th.
Okay.
Yes.
Motion, Saver seconded. Anything else?
Just one question, sir.
Go ahead.
Are you, the plan is to camera only the fingers that are coming out, or how?
I want to see, yeah, I think we really want to see what those fingers are, and if it's a clog that we can get out, we'd go ahead and get it out.
The hydroblast?
Yeah.
Right.
We're safer with that type of pipe than we are the metal, obviously. So we would clean it, but we want to see it first. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? All right, thank you. July disbursement vouchers, any questions?
Excuse me, I have a couple, please.
You do. Go ahead then, Betty.
Okay, on page 5, the tires, what tires did we replace for $4,500?
Is that fire truck or fire squad truck?
The 4,500, Rick, was that the loader tires, wasn't it? 4,500, Cheryl?
Cheryl?
Ladder truck,
For the ladder truck?
Mine more like 6,000.
Okay. And then, on page 8, I just happened to see where it had the mouse bait and the hose repair. Was that at the garage that we're having problems, or the town, or the fire department? There was some money that was just spent on mouse bait and hose repair. I didn't know where we were having the mice issues.
That cold storage, the shop,
Oh.
got cracks in the walls and holes in the walls and stuff.
Oh, is that at the
goes and
garage, is my
runs and
question, I
rovers
didn't know
and-
if it was
Yeah,
here
no, over there.
with one of the cars or something. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Moving on, operator license, any applications?
No.
None. Monthly reports from departments, Public Works. Lake Avenue is done with the exception of the striping and a little touch-up on the graveling on the side of it. 48th Street, the striping won't happen until late. We gotta let the material seal, harden before, but we will hopefully get it marked yet this year. Crack filling service was in, did their work. Grove Avenue, some over here in 54th, 3rd, and 2nd. And we have a culvert we're replacing on Sampson Street. Actually, we're putting a liner in. Is that a 5-foot or 6-foot pipe? I think it's 6 foot. Anyway, the county is doing the work. That's part of what we had on the project list. The pipe is there, and that should happen soon. Questions on Public Works?
Yeah, I see they took their road closed signs off of.
Yeah, those were county, county put those signs up. Those were theirs.
But the shoulders are not done yet.
Shoulders were done, but we need to touch them up. There's a few spots they didn't put enough gravel on for our liking. But
They did it in the pouring rain, too.
yeah.
What did you say?
They did it in the pouring rain when they did it. It was rain like 2 inches in an hour there. And they started and then started pouring. They kept going.
And is the crack filling gonna be done on the
Oh,
new portion?
Crack filling service, Mr., what's his, Hiley?
Chef Hurley.
Hurley actually inspected it, Bill. He said crack filling would not do it any good right now. Says you need to wait another year on it before we crack fill it. So we took his advice and went on to a different road, so.
I'd say the crack filling people are doing a very good job. You said they're done?
They're done for this year. Yeah, they hit our $20,000 allotment.
Thank you.
Airport Commission, traffic at the airport, 50 jets last month. So traffic is continuing to build. So far in this month, traffic has been 2 jets a day at least, and continuing to go on. We've got a lot of business flights, not only for the golf course. There's some local businesses, jets coming in for local mail traffic, hospital occurrences, and the like. Any questions on the airport? Recycling solid waste.
We have a meeting tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, and we're going to be talking a lot about the choose to reuse. And one of the things about choose to reuse is anybody out there wants to volunteer, we're certainly welcome to volunteers. Just give me a call, or Patty Lumby.
What's that date again, Bill? September what?
September 9th.
9th?
From
Okay.
8 until 2?
From 8 until 2.
Any questions?
And Bill, I had some people ask me, what does it cost to dispose of TVs or to donate TVs or?
It's the same price, and I'll have to get the list. It's very expensive now.
Okay,
I mean, $20 is the cheapest you can get rid of a TV.
so it varies by size?
Yes, it does.
And then they pay to dispose or to leave the TV there. If the TV gets picked up by a different individual, do they get their money back?
They usually volunteer it to, ODC. ODC gets the money and the TVs.
Okay,
So nobody can just drop one up and say, hey, if they don't take it, I'll pay you. They have to pay for it, and if somebody,
okay.
Yeah, the worst thing that happens is somebody carries it to a table and we never see it. And then at the end of the day, we got a TV sitting on a table that nobody paid for.
Okay.
Plan Commission, nothing yet, they're meeting
Right,
next
we're
week.
meeting next Monday.
Okay. Public building stand,
We had a few lights fixed in the municipal building. We are working on the air conditioning for you guys. Just working on
the freezer section.
the freezer section and making the heated section closer to, we're working on it. That's all I guess we're at, but everything seems to be running good. You know, it's just, this building is not friendly to flow of air right now, so we're running into some issues, but we'll keep working at it. We'll figure it out.
Legislative is not scheduled yet, but will be soon. Public safety, Kathy, anything? Economic development, Patty?
We met this, let me see, what was it, the 31st, for the Southeast Wood County Groundwater Committee meeting. There was a speaker there that spoke about fertilizers, and so the attendance was still pretty good for summertime and farmers and that. And our next meeting, I don't know if that's been, August, do you remember, Bill, the August 24th, I want to say, maybe?
One of the things they're doing is trying to change the name of it.
Yes,
so
oh
it
yeah, that's
encompasses
another
more.
thing. We're coming up with a different name for the committee because they want to encompass more of the Sand Valley and not just our particular area.
Regional, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
More reason.
Personnel?
I don't have it down,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, personnel committee, anything?
No personnel issues. Do we still have the FMLA policy with the attorney?
Yes.
Can you follow up on that?
Wisconsin Towns Association meeting was at Altdorf. Talked about the park wishes for upgrades, Bill, right?
Yes.
Powers Bluff?
Powers Bluff. Was that is that a 3 million or 6 million?
Yeah, they're having a fundraiser on
Yeah.
it, but the county's portion, I don't know, it's in limbo right now because one bonding issue didn't go through, so it's different. And also White Sands Beach, they're thinking of next year, some upgrades there, he had indicated.
Okay, it's more white sand in?
Most of it's rusty.
It was nice white sand there 20 years ago. All right, reports individual board members. Bill, anything tonight?
No.
Dan?
I guess I do got a question for, I need some clarification on. A couple months ago, I think it was 2 months ago, we had a board of review meeting followed by a legislative meeting, okay? technically it was 2 meetings. The way our per diem structure is, if we have 2 meetings in a row, it's worth one per diem. But if it goes over 3 hours, then you can claim a second per diem. And my understanding was this meeting went 3 hours and 12 minutes.
Right.
Okay, so do you have to take that? Is it, I was told it was required by law that you have to claim that per diem, that second one. Is that right?
No, you don't.
You don't? Okay. All right,
I,
because,
I think because individuals requested it, it was no more than fair to pay the rest of the individuals that didn't request it. So all board members were paid the second meeting.
The law comes in, if I may, on your salary, $150 a month.
140.
140. If you don't take that, you still have to pay taxes on it. You can donate it back to the town or to anybody you want.
Okay, but as far as per diem,
Per diem,
though,
no.
you can't do that.
You get what you put in for and what you're paid for.
Okay,
Anything else, Dan?
thanks.
Patty?
No, thank you.
Kathy?
Nothing.
Amy? Lisa? I'll just clarify one thing, and Bill brought up a point this morning to me. He was, saw a construction company working in the right-of-way on Washington Street, and he asked me if we if we knew about it and have permits. And yes, for everybody's recollection, when Don Bone was our board, our chief, our chairman, get that tough word out here. I am one, but can't remember it, right? We institute a policy for right-of-way permits. So the utilities, with the exception of Water and Light Commission, who refuses to pay us any fees, submit a request to us, and usually what they do is provide us with the documentation, show us the number of feet and everything. So just for your information on this last one that's been done on Washington, it's a gas line going down there, it's an $820 permit. So so far this year, we got about $4,000 into our permits. When Solaris and Charter and them were working, we had $30,000 plus years for permit fees. But that's protect the right of way so that if the roads sink after a while because of the borings underneath it, that we've collected something in advance to cover those costs. And, go ahead.
I got one more thing I forgot.
Well, I don't know if we'll give you seconds.
You're
but
gonna
go
get
ahead.
another 2 minutes?
No, you'll get another per diem for it. Go ahead.
That's what I'm banking on. So, a couple weeks ago, we had an incident in our neighborhood where there was some people coming around soliciting to sell some soap products. Very forceful, very intimidating. I asked them to leave my property, which after several times they finally did. Called our police department, talked to them. They were there in a matter of, I want to say almost minutes, Mel. I don't know how quick they were there. Handled the situation, got information from a bunch of neighbors. They had several calls. I just want to commend how your officers, Mel, I know it was Tammy and Officer Drinkwine and I think Seth too, and just they found the individuals, got some information, and we're just super. So again, it was very nice to have them, to know they were in the area. And
I can tell you they're still in the area. They worked the area where I live off of Whitrock, and that whole subdivision's there. I did talk to a gentleman and a girl that were walking. I had a nice discussion with them. And they were very polite to me when I told them I didn't desire any chemicals. And I said, I hope you're treating the public kindly as you go door to door. And if they ask you if they don't want anything from me, I ask that you leave it. They told me that they're from Florida. He's actually from Texas. They work for a company from Florida, and they're headed to North Dakota next. So they're probably out of our area by now, but they did work the area pretty hard, and I don't know if they sold any chemicals, but so be it. That's just like the Fuller Brush people years ago. Some people liked to see them, and some people didn't.
Right.
Okay. All right, moving on, item 16, public input. Anybody else in the board, or the audience that wishes to speak to the town board for 2 minutes? Go ahead, Mr. Head.
I was in Shane, is it Shane Rush's subdivision?
Yeah.
And I noticed there's no stop signs in
Yes.
there, and I guess we know that, and,
Yeah, there's no stop signs because it's not a accepted road yet.
okay,
They won't be accepted till they're blacktop next spring.
okay. Thank you.
Mhm. All right, who's horn? Anybody else?
Somebody's breaking into my truck.
Soap guys.
Hearing none, establish next agenda. Anybody got anything? If not, item 18, town board move into closed session pursuant to state statute 1985, prin 1, prin E, whether competitor, whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, discuss renewal contract options for town ambulance service contract, which currently runs through 2019. And who's making that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Patty, second Kathy. Roll call vote. Kathy?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Dan?
Yep.
Patty?
You know,
Arnie, aye. We're in closed session.
We're in
Thank you very
closed
much,
session
folks.
now.